You know, there's one thing the commercial fishers and the recreationals agree on, without hesitation, and that is that Pirsa is a lame duck. It is currently running around with its head cut off. It doesn't know what to do to fix the massive problem with this state's iconic fish stocks. It knows King George whiting, garfish and snapper stocks have crashed, basically because of their poor management of those fisheries. Let me state for the record, Pirsa does not want to come out publicly and say that this state's iconic fish stocks are stuffed, because there's an election only 6 months away, and it doesn't want to embarrass the Labor government who have sung from the rooftops how this state is the world's best managed fishery. Now, with those claims, it has egg, big yellow drippy egg, all over its face. The world's best managed fishery is a basket case. What we need, as I've said before, is for the recreational sector through SAFA, Fish and SA and RecFishCENTRAL to sit around the table with level-headed commercial marine scale fishers to sort out this mess. Even as I'm highlighting this disaster, we have a situation where net fishers in both Gulf waters have switched from killing garfish and whiting to concentrating on southern calamari, squid. The nets should be pulled out of the water immediately and banned in both Gulfs. Commercial handliners are operating in those waters and they're catching on average 40 kilos of calamari a day, but the netters are ripping over 400 kilos a day out of the headwaters of both Gulfs. They're throwing shot after shot of net to catch as much squid as they can because there's no quota on them. And some of the squid they're catching are so small they're no bigger than a squid jig. Put all the commercials on the same footing. Put handlines back in all their hands. Get them to supply the local market and put a freeze on exports interstate. I know it's radical, but something like this is needed to reduce the drive for the buck and the pressure on our fish stocks. The other way is to immediately introduce quotas for all marine scale fish species, including calamari. If the netters yell from the rooftops, as I expect they will, they can still make a living from using handlines instead of nets, or use the nets outside the Gulfs for secondary species only, such as snook or tommies, but with a realistic quota. And we can work together. If there was this meeting of interests, the Recs and the MSF fishers, then the commercials could bypass Pirsa's regulations by imposing their own restrictions, such as an immediate freeze on snapper longlining in the Gulfs. I mean now, not in 6 weeks when the closure for snapper starts. We just might be able to save a few hundred tons of fish full of roe and allow them to spawn. This would show some commitment, wouldn't you think? If these longliners are allowed to continue, they will not have anything to longline next year because they've obliterated the stock. Once again, put lines back into their hands. Pirsa, you need direction at the top. You need to get your hands dirty and you need to help this state's marine scale fish species, because if you don't, they're definitely doomed. And that'll be it for the world's best managed fisheries.